and welcome to the first edition of the brand new SBK Betting Podcast. I am Jess, Stafford, and I will be your host, where each week we will endeavour to bring you up to speed with all the best news and previews of the biggest events in the sporting calendar. And what a way to begin with the legend of British sport, golfer Lee Westwood, who joins me today ahead of this week's Ryder Cup, which is at Whistling Straits and finally returns, Lee, after the COVID pandemic postponed it from its rightful place last year. So without further ado, welcome, Lee. Fantastic to see you, and thank you for joining us. First of all, congratulations for qualifying for your 11th Ryder Cup, a phenomenal achievement to tie with Sir Nick Faldo's record. That must feel pretty special.
Yeah, hi, Jess. Yeah, thanks. Yes, it seems like a long time since Paris, when the last Ryder Cup was held. So it's nice to finally to have come around. And like you say, it's nice to be tying Sir Nick Faldo's record. Ironic, really, that he set the record of 11 Ryder Cups in 1997 at Valderrama, and I was his partner, and that was my first one. So it's all kind of gone full circle, really. And he's obviously a legend of the game, and it's nice to be tying a record that he holds.
Yeah, incredible to come full circle. And look, we've got so much to discuss ahead of it and a lot to get stuck into. We'll discuss Ryder Cup, and while we have you, we must talk about our mutual love for horse racing, as well as your beloved Nottingham Forest, as there's plenty to discuss in terms of how their season has started.
You don't want to talk about that.
Well, we'll touch on that because we know you're such a big sports fan. In this podcast, we're aiming to get through so much where sport is, but the Ryder Cup is where we'll begin. And look, Lee, you've got so much experience in this tournament, and I found an interesting quote. You once said you about the Ryder Cup, you do want it to be over as quickly as possible with the right outcome, but once it's over, you want it to start again, because it's such a unique experience, a combination of adrenaline, competitiveness, and team spirit. And I just wanted to touch on 2018 at Le Golf National, which was obviously pretty special, but unique for you as a non-playing vice captain. What was it like from that perspective to see the boys win the way they did?
Well, it was a lot easier watching them play than actually playing yourself. A lot less nerve-wracking. But no, obviously it was a fantastic performance from the lads. They pretty much all played well. The golf course was great for us. Set up really well. It wasn't like the Americans didn't play well. We just played, when you're watching from the outside like I was, rather than being involved playing the shots, you could appreciate how well everybody played. And everyone to a man played some great stuff, and it was an incredible atmosphere as well. Probably the best atmosphere of. I don't know whether it was me not playing, being able to appreciate it more, because you kind of don't when you're in the heat of battle. But I walked down the first fairway with Rory McIlroy in the singles, and the atmosphere was incredible when he was playing Justin Thomas first out. And hopefully this time around it'll be an equally as good atmosphere, and I get to appreciate it as a player again.
Yeah, the celebrations were just electric, especially when Francesco clinched it over Phil Mickelson. And we've seen what happened on the course with the celebrations. There must have been a bit of a party afterwards as well.
Yeah, there were a few red blurry eyes on the Monday as everybody left. I don't know who was last to leave. I think Torbjorn Olsen and Justin Rose were a couple of the warriors that carried on most of the night. So after all of them, there's been a pretty good party. Obviously, just a little bit better when you've won. Like I say, there were a few blurry eyes on that, getting on flights on Monday morning to leave.
So you've obviously had that opportunity to see it from that view, but I was thinking about this opportunity to be a team player, and what more or less normally is that it's an individual sport. That must have given you some thrills over the years. And looking back, your link up with Darren Clarke and that pair up with Nicholas Colsaerts in 2012. You talked about being a rookie yourself. That was one of probably the most memorable experiences you must have had in the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, I think Nicholas's performance in Chicago was probably, never mind him being a rookie, but probably one of the, if not the best performance I've ever seen in a Ryder Cup. He was 10 under par in his first ever round as a Ryder Cup player. You talk about taken a little while to settle in. He just came out of the blocks and left me with very little to do, really. I think I came in on the 12th and that was about it. Yeah, and obviously I've had a lot of good partners over the years, right from the very first one, Nick Faldo, and then playing with Darren, and then Sergio and Luke Donald, and then obviously Nicholas Colsart's in Chicago. It's been great to play with all those guys. The week of a Ryder Cup, you learn more because we are individuals and we tend not to let our guard down too much. That week you do, and you get to learn more about the guys, and you make a lot of friends for life.
Yeah, so looking at the challenge at hand with this year's Ryder Cup, it's a unique one in the fact that you've had to wait, so the anticipation is so much. But in terms of the markets and what they're saying, SBK have got USA at 4-7, Europe 23-10, the draw at 14-1. So it looks very heavy in favour of USA back on home soil. And also in terms of the crowds, we know that it's going to be pretty heavy in favour USA crowds because no Europeans can likely to get there. And this course is pretty unique. And I just wanted to touch on the course first. Knowing you played there, it's pretty tough. I found another quote from you saying that it's very, very difficult, almost a little too difficult, and it almost seems a bit too long. Can you explain what it's like to play at Whistling Straits?
Well, first and foremost, the United States team normally always the favourites, aren't they? They're normally, we're normally the underdogs for some reason. I guess they look into a lot of different things when you're formulating the odds for something like the Ryder Cup. You've got to take into consideration world rankings and ages of the teams and things like that. The golf course, can you set it up to suit the American team? Which I think with Whistling Straits you probably can't. It's pretty much there, laid out. If you go outside the fair, you can't make the fairways any wider. Once you get off the fairways, it's into sand dunes. The weather conditions up there can get windy, so you can't really cut the greens down much faster than is reasonable to hold the ball on the greens. It's not like you could cut them down to 13 on the stimp meter. Could be cold, could be blowy. Although the weather forecast does look pretty good for next week or for the week. And all the statistics that you use for compiling the odds all taking into consideration individual achievements. The world rankings are all based on individual achievements. And the week of the Ryder Cup, you come together as a team. So it's, completely different to what we do week in, week out. And the European team seem to bond well and bond that little bit better. So I always go into it not really thinking that either team's particularly favourite. It's a pretty level playing field, and I always think it's just who holds the most putts at the right times, and generally just plays that last hole well. When you need to under pressure, that's who's gonna come out on top at the end of the week.
Yeah, you talk about like the world rankings. I found that the average world ranking in the American team is 9.0. The Europeans, by contrast, are 29.4. Do you think we would get really bogged down by these individual stats when, as you say, it is a team game at the end of the day?
Well, everybody else talks about it. The team and the players won't talk about it. Everybody else talks about it because you'd be bored and have nothing to write about. Journalists and TV and the whole media, they've got to find something to talk about. So you just drag up all sorts of statistics, and we generally don't really look too much into those. Yes, the Americans have got a strong side, but we're defending it. We've got strong players as well, so it'll be close. It always is.
And do you think the experience that you've got gives you that mentality? You can have that mentality going into it because you've been, as you say, an underdog so many times. Yeah.
I think, some of the statistics, we've won more tournaments than their team, which of course we're going to because we're generally we are on average older, so we'll have played more tournaments, but we've won something like 210 tournaments between the 12 of us on the European team, and the Americans have won something like 110, 120. So, you can always bend and mold statistics into how you want them to read.
And look, the potential pairings is another thing the media will be deliberating all the way up until their announcements. And we have seen some epic pairings, which we've just discussed. From your perspective, who would you like to see paired up together for the weekend?
Well, Brooks and Bryson on their side.
Yeah,
and that's the obvious one.
Yeah, well, that was I was going to go on if you weren't going to say that. Do you think that will happen?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll probably try and keep those two apart. But on the European, the Europeans won't be particularly concerned about what the US team are doing. We'll just do our own thing and try and get our own pairings, match people up as successfully as we can. I think we've got a good mix of youth and experience, and I think we've got pairings that naturally fit together. We won't have to try too hard to blend pairings together. I don't know any of them at the moment who they'll be. The captain's keeping those quite close to his chest, but we've all been asked who we'd like to play with, and who we think our games would fit well with, and they're using statistics and all different formulas to work that out as well. So
what makes a good pairing then, in your opinion?
I think similar games help, especially in foursomes. Obviously, you got to get on well with your partner. It's no good if you don't. It's a long 5 hours out there if you don't like each other. But I think even down to using the same golf ball in foursomes. If one has to change make up golf balls, that can be the difference. But generally, if you've got a similar game and similar strengths, similar weaknesses, so you can play to your strengths, then that helps.
And your strength in the pairs golf has always been your forte with the Ryder Cup. Can you put that down into anything in particular?
I think I'm pretty easy to get along with. I think probably people like playing with me because I generally don't give holes away. I'm pretty straight off the tee, pretty good tee to green in general, and just reliable and don't give too many holes away, really. And
in terms of who you would be keen to be partnered up with, can you give us away anything that you would, any insight into your dream pairing?
The captain asked me, and I gave him 3 or 4 names, but they're 3 or 4 of the other 11 guys.
Okay, you'll keep it close to your chest. Well, we know you and Garcia are unbeaten in the fours. Perhaps the next Mollywood, which, by the way, his namesake's doing very well as a racehorse. I don't know if you've noticed.
I did see that.
Yeah, but doing very well. So love to find a racehorse name for you and a future partner. It makes. I thought Shane Lowry of One. It's been widely noted his involvement in the team it's brilliant to have. And Podrick Harrington has said that he doesn't seem like a rookie, even though he is, which is brilliant to have. But there are 3 rookies versus the 6 rookies that the USA bring. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think rookies are rookies as such anymore. If you look at Shane, he's the Open champion. You can't play under any more pressure than coming down the last few holes trying to win a major championship, and that's what you would like him playing in the Ryder Cup to. Victor Hovland, plays in the States, performed well on the big stage, and Bernd Wiesberger. I think everybody underestimates the great golf that he played right at the end of the qualifying there to get into the team. He can obviously play under pressure. It's a tough place to be when you're playing for your spot, and he came through it with flying colours. So they're all very mature characters, and I think obviously there's a shock when you get on that first tee and you're playing your first Ryder Cup. Everybody gets nervous, and no matter how many you've played, it's going to be my 11th, and I still get nervous on that first tee. But they look like and you get a sense that they can all handle that. You look at the US team, all 6 are there rookies. Whilst you wouldn't ideally want half your team to be rookies, they're all. One of them the Olympic champion. Another one's Colin Morikawa, who has won 2 major championships already. So they're not rookies in the old sense of the term, where many years ago when I played my first one, I was like legitimately a rookie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The term is sort of changed, and that your experience as a rookie was you probably came in with a lot of like nerves of steel because you're nothing to lose. You're there, with a lot of adrenaline. Where this is just a different concept and trying to understand how to be part of a team, which most might not have been that used to. That's the one difference, but the experience is there definitely.
Yeah, and I think both teams try and do little bits in the run up to try and bring everybody together. All of our different get-togethers, and I know the United States team have had a weekend where they went and practiced there and kind of bonding sessions. So everybody gets to get a feel for that team environment before they actually get to the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, and look, in terms of we've talked about odds for the teams, but there's always good markets for the point scorers as well. And as individuals, look at the USA team, their serious strength as individuals. And Justin Thomas, 6-1 to be top USA point scorer. Dustin Johnson, Spieth, Cantlay, they're all 7-1. Are there any standouts that you can see from the US side? I'm going to ask you the same about Europe that you feel will head home with top point scorer.
No, I don't think so. I think, the names that you're mentioning are all big scalps for a European player to take. So, maybe you try a bit harder against those people. So, and I mean, the only thing is you ideally, if you're going to have a bet, I suppose you ideally want to have somebody that's going to play 5 matches. There aren't that many people that play 5 matches anymore. In my day, you kind of played your best players and and just got the most out and played them over and over again. And now it seems like your best players you're trying to rest for a session here or there. So generally, people you try not to play people more than 4 times. Although I think the Mollywood pairing played 5 times last time round. But would you have picked Francesco Molinari to be the highest points winner last time round? Well, probably not. So somebody will say they backed him, but it's always the same with gamblers, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I always think it's a tough one to pick out the highest point scorer.
Yeah, from the European perspective, John Rahm is 17-5, even though his Ryder Cup record isn't as high as others. Sergio Garcia at 10-1 is his points marks speak for themselves. So as you say, it's how your mentality going into the Ryder Cup, which leads me to something that I wanted to ask you about. There's a bit of a conversation about Brooks Koepka at the moment, who's talked about the contrast of going from an individual sport to a team one, and it's very hard to decompress. He found it very demanding, and I know yourself mentioned that in January 2020 that you weren't sure you could take any more Ryder Cups. For you yourself, has absence made the heart grow fonder in terms of your approach to this year's tournament, or can you see where Koepka comes from?
Yeah, I think when you miss out on one, then you're obviously keen to get back in there again, especially if you've played a lot. But I can see where Brooks is coming from with what he's saying. Some people find it difficult to just adjust to that team environment. We've all sort of got into golf because we all like the book to stop with us at the end of the day. We like being individuals, and we don't like a lot of us will have played team sports in our youth, and we've kind of transferred to golf because it's an individual sport and we like that environment. And then you're kind of thrown into the team environment. And the week of the Ryder Cup, there is a lot to do. They cram a lot of media in there, and dinners and practice rounds take a lot longer, and there aren't a lot of hours in the day. And if you're somebody like Brooks that likes to chill out when he's going into a tournament, major championship, he maybe play 18 holes on a Monday, then 9 holes Tuesday, 9 holes Wednesday, and not do a lot. It's very full on, and he says how he likes to go to the gym and work out and do stuff like that. Well, there's just no time in the day to do that, and if you're going to do that, you do it at 5 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, which is not ideal because it's such a hectic week and so draining. You want to be relaxing. So part of the thing about Ryder Cup and going into the team environment is adaptation. You have to adapt to different circumstances, and some people find it difficult. And
for you, with looking, as you say, you've had this wait for it, and now you've kind of all G'd up for it. And for you, knowing that you might have the opportunity to equal Nick Faldo's points record at the Ryder Cup, does that give you a bit of fire in your belly for this year's renewal?
Not really. I think the points totals, and a few years ago I went past semis, and I didn't know I was going to do that at the time. I didn't even know until somebody told me that I had done it. You turn up at a Ryder Cup wanting to win points for your team and for your teammates and for Europe, and that's something that you sit down afterwards and somebody says, "Oh, you've gone to number 2 in the points total, or you've gone past Nick Faldo's record." And hopefully I will do, because I'll have won a lot of points and won a lot of points for Europe, and that will in turn help us to win the cup. So
yeah,
you try and control what's right there in front of you. The accolades and the records, something that come afterwards.
Sounds like you're already in the right team mentality, team spirit for it all, and it leads me.
I've been doing it for nearly 25 years, so.
Yeah, it comes around as like clockwork. Your body's like, right, back in the game. And actually, it really leads me nicely into a question I wanted to ask you about your personal team, because Helen, your now wife, and congratulations on your recent marriage. This is a very unique pairing as your caddy, and one that seems to have had a huge benefit to your game recently. Can you tell me a little bit more how she has changed your golf over the last few years, and will she be on your bag for this year's Ryder Cup?
No, she won't. Sam's doing it. Sam's doing the Ryder Cup. My son.
Your son.
So Helen's doing all the wives and partners things, and Sam's doing the caddying. So Sam's caddied for me a lot this year as well. The Masters and other events in Europe, Scottish Open. Helen, they kind of share it between the two of them. But both, know what to say to me. Don't get involved with the yardages or picking clubs and things like that, but are good on the psychology side of things, and just keep me in a good, nice, relaxed frame of mind out on the golf course, which is even more important the week of the Ryder Cup.
Brilliant. And we've got a Twitter question in saying, do you think we'll see more players asking friends and family to be on the bag rather than a professional caddy? It seems like a lot of players are having success like you are with having someone close to them out there on the course.
Yeah, I think it's valuable to have a good experienced caddy, but when you get to a certain age and you've kind of experienced everything, and you know your own game really well. So, I look at somebody like Stuart Sink, who has his son doing it for him. I think it is easier to have somebody like a son or a wife caddying for you. It depends, what direction you want to go with it. At the time when Helen started caddying for me, I felt like I needed more of a psychological help out on the golf course than doing my own yardages. It helped for me to do my own yardages because it cleared a clear path to picking a club. I didn't have anybody else's ideas going through my head, and I just went back to playing my own game really, and was fully committed to that.
Well, brilliant to have the family with you for the week. And look, just to finish on the Ryder Cup, because we've got a lot more sport that we want to get to. You've done it obviously all in the tournament. You've been a vice captain. This is your 11th Ryder Cup, and I can't not ask you about the idea of captaining the team when the tournament returns to Europe, to Rome next time. You said that Harrington was the perfect captain for this time around, but does the idea of captain still motivate you, and is that something you want to strive for?
Yeah, I'd love to do it sometime in the future, but the last time I was involved in Paris, if you'd have asked me, I wouldn't have thought I was going to be making any more teams. So, who knows how long I'll go on playing well for, and I've proved I'm still capable of qualifying for teams. So yeah, I'd love to be captain, and I sort of half had the idea of doing it in Italy, in Rome, but I think it's just I'm going to have a good sit down after this Ryder Cup and make and throw a few things around and make a decision between sort of in the next 3 months before the season starts again next year in January, and just clear a few things up in my mind what direction I want everything to go.
Yeah, and look, it's obviously a big format to becoming captain as well. It's not just a click and it's done. It's a huge process, isn't it? Yeah,
there's a lot of it's a full-time job nearly now, so it becomes a bit consuming, and your game, you don't have enough time to work on your own game, and it does deteriorate a little bit. And I enjoy playing golf. I enjoy going out there and competing. So while I can still compete, I wouldn't want to do anything that'd be detrimental to that. So it is going to have to be a sit down and think about it.
And because not just golf, you've got lots of things that go on outside of golf as well, which leads me quite nicely into your other love and passion, which is horse racing, which we can both agree on. And it's obviously a sport that has captivated you over the years. And I just wanted to talk about the passion for racing. And as you've moved into ownership as well, I just want to start first in your earliest memories of horse racing and what got you into it.
I suppose my earliest was watching it on TV with my dad and granddad, Boxing Day, and from Kempton, and I guess the Grand National, things like that were on TV. Having a 10p win on a horse and things like that. And then when I turned professional, I started playing golf and had a bit of success, earned a few quid. I decided to buy a racehorse, which was an expensive idea, and it's really sort of carried on from there.
And so, what was your first racehorse in training?
I bought a horse with Derek Shaw called In the Arena, which was fairly unsuccessful, and it didn't do very well. But I bought a few successful ones since then. Oh, actually, all over the world. South Africa. We've had runners in Dubai, even in the United States, mainly in Britain and Ireland. But a lot of good ones. I didn't realise how lucky I'd been until I bought a few that didn't win. But how successful the early ones were.
Yeah, it's a game which it draws you in. I understand that completely. Yeah. But York Hill has been just, the story of York Hill is just phenomenal, and we all loved being sort of involved in that celebration that you had and the enjoyment, because he is such a legend of a horse. And then you became his owner. Can you just explain how that came about? And also memories of that unforgettable day when he won at Newcastle at 66-1.
Yes. Well, Graham Wiley, who owns Close House, he was trying to get out of horse racing. So myself and Dave Armstrong, who's owned horses for a long time, and I own horses with him now, we said we'd buy 4 or 5 off Graham. And one of them, there was Bells Hill in there, Voix de Rêve, Stay Humble, I think, York Hill, and maybe another one. And we just thought we'd bring them over to England and race them in the north. And obviously, they all got a fantastic pedigree. And York Hill's obviously won at Cheltenham before, and in Ireland. And it was really emotional watching him do his thing, making a comeback. A bit like me and my career in golf, an old timer making a comeback, and just watching him, basically win from start to finish and lead him round and showing his class coming up the straight there.
Yeah, completely rejuvenated and with a zest and love for what he was doing, which is a really nice comparison to your own golf. I was wondering if that joy, does that even come on par to a winning moment, in individual golf or even the Ryder Cup? Can you compare it at all?
No, I get far more nervous and emotional watching the race horses than I do playing golf. It's
nerve-wracking.
yeah. I think it's just great to see. They're elite athletes, aren't they? They're incredible. They're incredible athletes, and it's great to see them doing their thing. And when you have a really, really good one, you just look at one, and sometimes they just look like a Formula One car, racing against just street cars. Yeah. And York Hill, when he stood there, he and Belzil was the same, and Voix de Rêve's the same. When I look at him now, he'll be running again soon. They just look like Formula One cars. They're just incredible looking beasts.
Yeah, they really are. So in terms of how often you get to go racing, and I know that you've got a Lee Westwood syndicate with Mick and David Easterby as well. How are you able to fit it all in, and B, how closely are you able to follow it all?
Yeah, I haven't been for a while. I've been backwards and forward to America so much this year, and with the COVID protocols and having to quarantine for 10 days when you get back, although it's all changed now, I haven't really been able to get down there. But the syndicate with Mike and David is going well, and I've got other horses with them as well. Sam's Call, which I bought for my son for his 18th birthday, that one 2 or 3 weeks ago at Beverley. And all the horses that I own with Dave Armstrong, the jumpers, they're about to come back out. We're excited about them. They've all had a good summer in the field. So busy time coming up, yeah. So, and also, you primarily, and you've had success on Hoofers, a legend of the game as well. Yeah.
And that Goodwin win was just stays firm in my memory from you as a racehorse owner. But your Cheltenham Festival seems like the week that you always try and aim to get to. Is that right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it has been. Although that last year I played in the Players' Championship that week, which was probably a good decision because I finished second and won $1.6 million. So instead of losing,
didn't do too badly at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Well, you did too badly the year before.
Yeah, but not quite that good. But yeah, I think Cheltenham's incredible. You know, the roar on the first day as that first race goes off, and just, you know, I bought a horse from my dad one Christmas called Ballyalton, and he won at Cheltenham about 4 years ago. And just to, you know, have a winner at Cheltenham's an incredible experience, and you know, watching him come up that hill and ping that final fence and then pull away was amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And look, you seem like you've got, so on the books at the moment, how many Lee Westwood owned horses are there for us to follow? That's a good sign. Too many to count. Yeah, I'm guessing there's somewhere around the region of 12. Could be more, I think. But yeah, and fairly successful ones as well. So yeah, looking forward to start, you know, having a bit of time at home. I've played so much this year, I really haven't had a chance to watch them too often. But I'm not playing many tournaments between the Ryder Cup and starting up again next year. So I'll have a good chance to. It's nice to see crowds back and everybody being able to go, and I'll have a chance to go along and watch a few of them.
Do you get any of the guys on the tour into it? Are they, as any other fellow golfers, interested?
There's a few people out there that's bought shares in horses. I know Shane Lowry's got a share in a horse, maybe a couple of horses over in Ireland. I think there's a few other lads that have kind of dabbled, but not to the extent of how I've gone into it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're pretty committed, which is brilliant to see. And look, we can always try and get them interested, and they'll realise the passion that is pretty unique. And look, that brings me on to another passion of yours. I have to talk about Nottingham Forest, your beloved team.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to.
I have two. I have two questions, and I know. Look, I'm a Chelsea fan, very, very different, but we've had our highs and our lows, and we've had lots of manager changes as well. And I want to get your thoughts on what's been happening and who you would like to see in charge now you've got the news that your manager's gone after what's been a really less than ideal start to the season.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, we've had 27 managers in 17 years, which is just ridiculous, isn't it? You know, anytime you're trying to build anything, you've got to put the foundations in, and there's got to be continuity, and that all starts from the manager, and they just haven't given anybody a chance. You know, I have a certain amount of sympathy for Chris. You know, you don't get long in football now. Was he able to bring his own players in? Probably not. You know, it seems like other people are buying the players for him, but at the same time, you know, you judged on your results, and you just didn't have the results, and it looked towards the end like the players weren't. I hate the phrase that you'd lost the dressing room or the players weren't playing for him, because if you're a professional sportsman, you should go out and try your hardest every single time. And you know, it just looks like, you know, a lot of them weren't pulling their weight. So you know, a certain amount of sympathy for him, but at the end of the day, you know, the two wins since April is just not good enough, and you know, he'll know that, and there's a lot of pressure on the next guy to come in, because don't see anything changing. I think the whole club probably needs a bit of an overhaul, and is the new manager going to be able to do that? Well, probably not. He'll probably not be given enough time.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think it's a simple fix as just a new manager change?
I think with Nottingham Forest bringing a new manager in, it's like giving somebody an aspirin when they've had a heart attack. I think you're just plastering over the cracks all the time at Forest at the moment.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard work, and it's difficult to try and bring back that belief again. And that's what you'll need mentally, a very strong manager that's been there with a team that have perhaps been down that road. Yeah,
I hope somebody can. I hope it's a big personality that comes in there and can, motivate the players that he's got. Another problem is, yes, they've got a great fan base, but a lot of the fans are living in the past. They're falling back on them 2 European Cup wins from nearly 40 years ago now, isn't it? So
yeah.
At the same time, the fans have to be realistic. I don't think they're asking for European Cup wins. They're asking for, challenging for promotion from the Championship. But it's there's got to be realistic goals laid out, and the manager continually under pressure and compared to Brian Clough as well, who's one of the most successful managers of all time. There's a lot of things going on at Forest to battle with.
And I suppose that the game on Ryder Cup Saturday is going to be quite important in terms of the mentality they show. And I know that morning's foursome, when Forest are lining up against Millwall, I think you might be having quite an important moment yourself. I know that you said Sam is going to be with you by your side, but we saw brilliant pictures of Helen holding up the laptop so you could watch Forest on your way back from Wentworth last week. Do you have to wait until you're back in the clubhouse to catch up on the day's action? How are you going to follow it, or you just have to put it to one side?
Yeah, I'll be a bit busy on Saturday, I think, to be keeping up with the score. But you'll notice when Helen was holding the laptop, she was asleep as well. It shows you the thrilling football that Forest are playing at the moment. But yeah, I try and watch them wherever I am in the world. So, I'm a fan, and I have been for years. So, I try and keep up to date with it all.
Yeah, I mean, so many sporting endeavours that you're trying to keep up with, and it's brilliant. And look, before I let you go, I've got a couple of quick fire questions, if you don't mind. Mainly jumps related, because we are predominantly SBK Podcast, a racing podcast. So I wanted to see where you stand with these quick fire. Right, we'll start. Masters jacket, Nottingham Forest back in the Prem, or Cheltenham Gold Cup as an owner?
Masters jacket.
Matter. I don't know if you watched last year's Cheltenham, but you might be following the horses that have been running so far. Appreciate It or Bob Ollinger?
Bob.
Favourite jumps trainer?
Ooh, well, I've got a few with jumps trainers, haven't I? So if I said that, I'd upset about 4 or 5 people. I enjoy Ian Williams' company, and I enjoy Warren Greatrix's company as well. They're always very informative, keep you in the loop. And with another syndicate I'm involved with, the Albatross Club, we've got a few horses with them, and I like the way they send emails and do videos and stuff like that, and they're obviously both very successful as well.
Brilliant. Flat trainer then, probably similar, the guys that you're very well associated with.
Yeah, Mick and David are very, very entertaining. I'll
say that's a story for another podcast. Fine then. Jump jockey. Favourite jump jockey?
Of all time or?
All time.
Currently? Oh, I mean, Tony McCoy will want me to be saying him, won't he? And I know Mick Fitzgerald well, so he'll want me to be saying him. So I'm gonna give him a tie, the pair of them, and they're both terrible tipsters, by the way.
Who's a better golfer?
Oh, Mick. Mick plays a lot.
Yeah.
He's a real bandit. We actually had a celebrity pro-am at Wentworth a couple of weeks ago, and Shane Larry was playing with the jockeys, and I said the night before, I said the jockeys will win that pro-am. Sure enough, the next day, Ruby Walsh shows one from 30 feet on the last to win by a shot for the jockeys. They're a bunch of bandits.
In classic Ruby Walsh style, in classic. Yeah. We'll end on favourite race and one race that you would love to win as an owner.
It'd have to be the Cheltenham Gold Cup, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Cheltenham Gold Cup.
Nothing beats Cheltenham. Right, well, Lee, look, thank you so much. I know that you've kindly agreed to donate this fee for appearing on the podcast to Newcastle Doug and Cat Shelter and the Ebony Horse Club. So all I can say is thank you so much for your time. Best of luck at the Ryder Cup. Best of luck with all your horses. I'll be following them very closely. Hopefully you'll see them through Racing TV, where you'll be seeing me commentating on them. But look, best of luck, as I said, and we hope to catch up with you again soon.
Thanks, Jess. Thank you.